I started, I was very young. I was like, 22, 23. I had a rule. I would never hire someone older than me.
On this journey of Business Edition, Dawit Abraham takes us on the journey through Beemi app being able to raise $1 million.
If you want to raise in a year and a half, you need to start building that relationship today. This is the concept of social capital, but in terms of investment. And you have to be very honest. Don't try to oversell the company. Oversell yourself.
We begin his money journey talking about his upbringing in Ethiopia and learn some surprising facts about the money that doctors make in Ethiopia.
It's actually gotten a lot worse. I mean, I think doctors earn around like 10,000 shillings or 15,000 shillings per month.
10,000 Kenya shillings.
Yes.
His journey to the tech and startup space required him to be a little bullish at the beginning.
You can't be having a product that is incredibly valuable to 100 people in the world.
One of the first products he built wins an African award, beating out competition with much deeper pockets.
We won the best entertainment app in Africa. You know who came in second?
His experience in America changes him and his attitude towards raising funds. He understood up until this point he had really been doing just rookie numbers.
And then I realized we're very humble. Maybe it's as a culture. The first thing that a lot of the friends that I had did is, Dawit, did you mention you had a black belt? Yes. Why is that not in your pitch deck? I'm like, how is me being a black belt going to help? Like, oh, it shows that this, it shows that, it shows this. And I'm like, really?
He also learned that usually you will raise about 10% of whatever people pledge. And he finally tells us about why he settled in Nairobi.
Nairobi is literally the social media capital of Africa. Did you know that more social media spend happens in Nairobi than anywhere else in the world? This is crazy.
He also tells us why you need to be in a different frame of mind when you approach a VC for funds as opposed to when you're looking to a bank.
They have very different requirements.
Hey guys, this is Barrack from Financially Incorrect. I am here to say thank you so much for the 50k plus people who have subscribed to Financially Incorrect. We really do appreciate you. When we crossed 50k, we had a nice small intimate party at our offices and we celebrated this milestone. I have convinced the powers that be that if we can get to 100k by December, we will throw a big party to celebrate with all of you guys. And now we have 3 different segments for you guys to watch. There's Financially Incorrect Business Edition, Financially Incorrect Uganda Edition, and Financially Incorrect the regular Kenyan edition. So please do, if you like our content, subscribe. If we get to 100k by December, we will throw the biggest party in East Africa. So please do subscribe. Hey everybody, welcome back to Financially Incorrect Business Edition. I am your host, Barrack, and happy Tuesday. I have another business story for you. It's an interesting one. This is from Ethiopia. I think the first Ethiopian guest, and I think first Ethiopian business for sure. So on with me today is none other than Dawit Abraham, who's a co-founder and CEO of Beimi. And Beimi has raised almost $1 million in seed funding to scale its gamified live streaming platform across Africa. The company, founded in Ethiopia, integrates interactive games and real-time storefronts into live streams, transforming them into more engaging and profitable experiences for creators and viewers. And I think they raised this money in 2025 this year, in June. Yeah. So first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm
I've
honored.
introduced you before I've said any of the things I'm supposed to say, so just give me a minute
Okay.
and I'll say them. So, guys, we have links in the description box. Please do, if you are a fan or you'd want to send someone onto the podcast or you want us to feature a business, please put that information on that form. We'll be able to reach out to them and see if we can bring that story to you. And the second thing is we are always trying to make this podcast and this product much better for you. So please fill in that survey and just let us know what more do you want from us and how better can we deliver that to you. Other than that, we have lots of stuff coming up. We have lots of events for our community that are coming up. So please do check out our social media platforms for you to find out and be part of. And we were nominated for a Pulse podcast award. I hope I've said that correctly. And it's because of you guys, for you guys listening and you guys paying attention, that we matter. So thank you so much for that. And if you feel so inclined, please do go and vote. Now we can go. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
The first thing I have to ask before I even get into the podcast sequence and everything for today is I was watching on Twitter recently as we're shooting this. I think over the last 2 weeks, there was a lot of videos of Ethiopia that were circulating on Twitter.
Interesting.
And I saw a lot of Kenyans who were just like, this is incredible. Like the structure, the infrastructure that you guys have is interesting. Interesting in a very good way. What's been the biggest thing for you to adapt to setting up in Nairobi?
Interesting. It's actually funny that you mention the infrastructure.
From the
specifically,
videos that I've seen.
are you talking about the dam?
No. I'm talking about like just
About the roads.
the roads, and
Yeah.
just the way it looks like, and the
Yeah.
the I think there were like riding,
Yes.
biking lanes,
Bike
and-
lanes. That
and
was
all of-
literally
yeah.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The one thing that I guess this is something that happened over the past few years. So I've been coming to Nairobi for the past like 9-10 years, and I've always noticed Nairobi is just a beautiful city. Over the past 2-3 years, Addis just became pretty. Like the infrastructure was built, the biking lane, everything. And from then on, every time I travel, I start to notice where's the bike lane, which has been crazy. But it's kind of a mixed emotions that everyone has about it, because there's a lot of stuff that happened to get it done. But then once it was done, people were also pleased with the results. But I guess I'm not much of a biker anyway, so it hasn't affected me.
So you're asking where
It
the
hasn't
bike lane-
affected me. I'm just like, for my viewing pleasure, I would love for it to be there, but I don't really bike as much. Not as much as I used to, at least.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay. So bike lanes. That's the biggest.
that's the one thing I always notice.
Like, there's
And
no
pavements, I guess.
Right.
Because now I
That's
notice...
like a big thing to say that we don't have pavements.
That's the one thing I noticed
Yeah.
is I'm a bit more scared walking in Nairobi than I am in Addis about like traffic, like or car accidents and stuff like that. The pavements in Addis have been built to be extremely wide. There's like you don't really get out into the asphalt and come back, and there's like a bunch of trees. They've made it really beautiful, so people have started taking walks now just because of that. And it's actually across the city, like you can walk everywhere in the city. It's like they just revamped the whole city and just like rebuilt it.
And you're saying this whole
Yeah.
revamped is like in the last 2-3 years.
2-3 years, yeah. It's
Okay.
crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. I guess for us it's what's possible. In
Absolutely,
2-3 years
absolutely.
when the time comes.
If you decide, you can just
2027.
make it happen. Apparently. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have 2 questions. Well, one question and one sort of reflective comment. So the first question is, what was the last thing you did for the very first time?
What was the last thing I did for the very first time? That is a beautiful question. Oh, wow. I have to think about that.
Yeah. You can take your time.
What was the last thing that I did for the very first time?
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually something in business that we started to actually do. We started a massive email campaign to our users. We've never done that as a company.
Yeah.
Because we've always been in early stage trying to actually get new customers. So we've always been acquiring customers, blah, blah, blah. And in the past, because we were in video games and other types of products, we never actually had to work with specifically retaining subscribers. And then now, as the business is starting to actually pick up, we start to notice, okay, there's a lot of subscribers coming in, and then now we need to retain them, and we need to kind of congratulate them, tell them, hey, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. It's like that stuff we did, and I was like, me and Beck were actually just trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. And then that's something that we actually did last week. No, 2 weeks ago, right? This week, actually. No, that's the second email that we sent. The first one we sent last week.
Last week.
And it was more of an announcement of this new game that we launched.
Right.
And I'm like, interesting. I think we need to start building like intimate relationships with customers. And that's kind of new to me in a sense. But yeah, we're learning as we go.
Yeah, I think what's funny about what you've said is we're trying to do the same thing in one way or another. So trying to figure out how to interact with a bit more of our audience. But okay, what about in a personal capacity?
Personal capacity.
Or have you just been the same old boring guy and doing nothing new?
Interesting. The thing is, a lot of the things that I do, I've been doing for a very long time.
Yeah.
This is, I think, one of the best questions I've been asked.
Yeah.
I love this. and it's making me think.
Anyway, we'll see. Maybe you'll come back to it, or maybe something will come to you.
Aren't you giving me time to think?
Yeah, I'm giving.
I'm like, I would love to know.
Do you want
What
to
did I
find an
do?
answer? Do you want to find an answer?
I do.
Okay,
really
then
do.
we'll give you time.
Thank you.
Give
All
time.
right. What was it? Okay, so this is interesting. It's something I did last week. No, 2 weeks ago. So I play the guitar, but I'm a
You
shy
play the
singer.
guitar.
I play the guitar,
Okay.
but I'm a shy singer. But for the first time, I actually learned a full song and sung it out loud in front of people, like just friends that we had. And I was actually singing out loud. I was like, damn, this is crazy, because I'm so uncomfortable singing.
Same.
And then I did it again actually last time too, right? Like you were there. But that's actually the first time I actually sung while
did you
playing.
feel?
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
It felt amazing. I was like, wow, I should do this more often. And I started to become louder. For real.
As you
As I was singing,
like you got
I
into
started
it.
very soft.
Yeah.
And then I started to sing out loud. And I'm like, shit, singing out loud is actually fun.
Yeah.
And it was actually, that's the one thing that I just remembered.
That's cool. That's very cool. And I think, that's very cool. Singing is cool. Second thing, this is the more reflective comment, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this statement. Impatience is an argument with reality.
Impatience is an argument with reality.
Yeah.
Interesting. That is true. Have you read, what do you call it? So this is a book that I recently read that I really loved, The Courage to be Disliked.
No.
It's
I feel like you would think I don't read now because all the books you asked me I've read, I haven't read.
No, these are basics, man. What are you doing? No.
Yeah.
But it talks a lot about it's pretty much like Adlerian psychology versus Freudian psychology, where it's like it talks a lot about accepting things. It has a bit of like Greek philosophy, like Stoicism and everything like that. But there's also a part that talks about how a lot of your impulsive emotions or these impatience, anger, like these reactive things that you do are really just behaviors of a child that hasn't really grown up. And as a child, you don't have a lot of these tools. You become angry because you can't convince everyone to, you just don't have the right tools for you. Therefore, you go to those extreme emotions. And impatience is one of them, right? And as an adult, I think you accept reality more and more. Because you understand it. You realize there's stuff you can control. There's stuff you cannot control. And the more adult and the more just well-collected you become, I guess it's true. You get more patient.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I get it. I understand. There's not much I can do here except be patient. So like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I love that saying.
That's a very philosophical response and a good one, I might add. Okay, let's get into your story.
Okay.
So
I want more questions. I love this.
No,
This is cool.
I only had
Let's
two.
not do anything else.
I only had
Let's
two.
just do this for
I
an
was
hour.
like 2 and we're done. Like
Okay.
2 and we're done. Anyway.
Okay.
So were you an impatient kid actually? What were you like growing up?
Yes, absolutely. I was an impatient kid. Actually, so I have a story that my parents told me, because I don't even remember this, but I was very, very young. I think I was maybe aged 3 or 4. And I'd go to school. So my parents, they used to homeschool. I have a younger sister. They homeschooled us a lot. So when we started school, we know a couple of things, like about just like, basic, the basic things that you learn, right? Alphabets, blah, blah, stuff.
Right.
And then I used to be extremely impatient in school that I would just be very rebellious. I'd be like, I'm not going to learn. I'm going to be out there playing and just like doing all the things. And then I would say the only way I would be in class is if I'm teaching the class. It's just crazy. I'm like, are you sure I said that? It's like, yeah. And then I would like, they would give me like a thing, and then I'll actually be teaching the class, and then I'll be fine staying in the class. Other than that, I'm not doing this. This is just, I'm gonna go out and play.
Wow.
I think as a very impatient child.
Yeah, I'd say so. Did you grow up in privilege, do you think?
Privilege. I always say I grew up in privilege. My parents, they're both like medical doctors. They had a job. We had a mortgaged house. When I think of privilege, that's so privileged. That right there. Like, we didn't have like a car, so I had to use public transport all my life. All of those things are like, okay. I mean, I had a lot of rich friends that I would go to and be like, oh, I wish I had that. But a lot of the things that I had really contributed to where I went in life. Like just being able to finish college. And so right now, I do support my mom. She's alive. My dad passed away a year ago.
Oh, sorry about that.
But I do support my mom. They're not well off to be, people on their own, just rich, doing their own thing. But I didn't have to support them when I graduated from college. And that is such a privilege for me because I was able to focus a lot on my own thing. Where I saw a lot of friends who the moment they graduate, they have to now support their family immediately. So you have to actually get a job immediately. You have to support your siblings. I never had to give my younger sister money for college. That is a privilege. A lot of people actually do that. So whenever I think of that question, I say, yeah. You know what I mean? Like I actually borrowed, what was it, like $50 from my mom to start my first business. That was something that I can actually do because, she was okay. Yeah. She had a job, she was a working person, and she could actually provide for those things for me. So it's like those things make me think, yeah, I'm absolutely privileged. But then I guess that's very subjective. Okay. Right? Everyone has their own understanding of what privilege is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm asking this because I'm trying to get a context of what it's like in Ethiopia or where you grew up. Both my parents are doctors as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, my parents are doctors, and so I'm trying to understand what the earning capabilities or earning expectations for a doctor in Ethiopia would be.
It really depends on, I guess, the time. It's very different now. It's actually gotten a lot worse, but
it's gotten a lot worse.
It's gotten a lot worse for medical doctors. Yeah. If you're just graduating right now, there's not a lot of job opportunities, and the job opportunities that you find don't pay a lot. I mean, I think doctors earn around like 10,000 shillings or 15,000 shillings per month.
10,000 Kenya shillings.
Yes. So that's like if you're a junior medical doctor, that's like the kind of money that you can expect to earn.
Is like the government subsidizing a lot of stuff? Like
they can't. The government is broke, so they can't really.
10,000, 15,000. It doesn't sound like very much.
It's very low. That's why you see a lot of medical doctors actually switching careers. Like they're trying to get into marketing, they're getting into coding, they're just doing everything else that they can actually do. Now, in the past, when I was growing up, I remember both my parents used to earn around 10,000 shillings back then, which was kind of good.
Factoring inflation.
Factoring for inflation. But even that was good enough to just have a normal life. Like you can't really be saving a lot of money to be investing in a lot of different things or just like accumulating wealth, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't really like that. But I do know of a lot of doctors who also made a lot of money. Like you would be working in a private company and then you'd actually be working in multiple places, which could provide for maybe, I don't know, I would say they would make around 30, 40,000 for that time, but it's not a lot still. Yeah. Like medicine, I wouldn't consider that to be one of the fields where you make a ton of money in Ethiopia.
That's really, really interesting. It's very, very bizarre. And
that's why a lot of Ethiopians, you find them moving to Botswana, moving to Kenya. You actually see a lot of Ethiopians moving countries.
Okay. Yeah. That's anyway. But now I have better.
You have
better
context.
'cause I was like,
You have the.
I was trying to be like, it's not adding
Yes.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
this what sparked you into thinking about entrepreneurship or getting into entrepreneurship?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's the first venture you get into? This venture where you're borrowing $50
to
get into?
The first venture. So this is, I think, right before I finished college. No, like actually when I was finishing college. So, so by profession, I am a software engineer, and I got into game development very early on. And this is like 2013 or so. So since then, I've actually been building games. And the I guess internship that turned into a job was this AI research lab, like a really cool lab in Addis that I joined. And I when I started that job, I had already built this game. It was this fun, casual runner game, Kukulu, and it was cute. It was nice, and I was like, you know what? I wanna see
one of the Temple Run.
Infinite Runners. Yeah, Temple Run.
Yeah.
Temple Run, but it's a chicken that's trying to escape from slaughter. Like it's holiday, it's about to get slaughtered, and it escapes, right?
yeah.
So that's the game. And I had built a prototype, I had built it, and it was working and everything. I was like, you know what? I want to see how I can make money from this.
Yeah.
So when I got my first job, I got a part-time job. So I was offered a full-time job, but I opted for like a half-time job because I wanted to spend the other time doing this. Also because like I think when I started my first job, my salary was like 6,000. So because the Ethiopian birr and the shilling are almost the same, I'm just gonna refer to it as shillings, but it's somewhere around 6,000 shillings per month. And I thought about it, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna save up 6,000 shillings per month. Or if the full-time job had, I think, 9,000 shillings per month. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not gonna be saving up that money and doing anything with it. I need to build a business.
I have to ask because these figures are staggering for me.
They're very low.
Yeah.
Extremely low, yeah.
What?
I know.
And I'm sorry for interrupting you. So it's just that they're blowing my mind. So how are you? How does one live?
So here's the thing. So the cost of living in Ethiopia is, I can't say lower, but I know, for example, rent is lower in Ethiopia, or at least in the past when I just started out. I mean, I didn't move out. Obviously, I was living with my parents because I can't move out on a 6,000 shilling salary, right? But a lot of the things that you have were cheaper in Ethiopia back then. And still, I would say some things like food, for example, is a bit cheaper in Ethiopia than it is here. But it's gotten very expensive now to the point where a lot of Ethiopians are trying to figure out how to make money from gigs, remote work, blah, 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 and trying to actually make ends meet. A lot of people are suffering because of this. Like the average salary still is around like 12,000 shillings per month, which is still very low. So yeah, it's actually crazy. It's actually rough.
Yeah, I just want to get context. Okay, so please, I'm sorry for the interruption on your story. Yeah. So you were talking about just before the part-time job. So you take the 6,000.
Yes.
So that you can work on the game. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not gonna save 6,000 shillings or birr per month and become what I want to become. I need to make money. And so the thing is, like, when I got into college, I always thought I made a mistake because I got accepted to really nice colleges. Like I got accepted to Duke University in the US. I chose not to go because they gave me a half scholarship. It was like $20,000 per semester that I had to pay. There's no way my parents can afford to pay that. And then I was like, do I do loans? Do I not? I wasn't really sure about it. So I just opted to study in Addis. And then when I noticed, this would have actually made a lot of difference in what kind of jobs I get, whether I actually do a lot of things and stuff like that. I was always worried, and I'm like, no, I need to figure out how to make money. If I'm here, I can't be an employee. I need to make money from business. So that's how I got into my first business. And it was such a stupid idea that I had to. Like, I was saying, okay, you know what? There aren't games in Ethiopia. and then I learned how to build games, and it was like, this is not as hard. I can actually make a lot of games. Okay. And then I made that game, and I'm like, okay, how can I make money from this? Ads. Kids love this. Kids love games. All right, I'm gonna sell ads. And then I got into this competition. This competition, what they do is they have like hundreds of people competing. You eventually get into this top 10, and if you're in the top 10, you end up in the, what do you call it, like an exhibition. And in that exhibition, a lot of people actually come, like business people from everywhere. I'm like, that's what I need to get. If I have a booth in that exhibition, if I come into the top 10, I'll probably meet, so there are like this milk companies like Anchor Milk and blah, 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 who I was like, they would probably want to advertise in a kid's game. So I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do. It's like, now that I think of it, ads are made for parents, not kids. It was such a naive thing for me to think of. But that was the whole plan. I was like, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to build it, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to get into that exhibition. I got into the competition. The competition took like 6 months. No, more than that, 8 months. And then I actually ended up 7s.
Okay.
And I was so happy. I was like, yes. And it's a game. To be honest, a lot of people were just making fun of it. It's like, what do you mean a game? Do you think Ethiopians need a game? We need food. And I'm like, come on, you know what I mean? We need games too. We can make something out of games too. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. But then eventually, it was a beautiful game, and was like got voted for. The judges were like, okay, this is actually really cool. I ended up becoming 7s, and then I went to the exhibition. I had my suit on, everything, and then
waiting for the advertisers.
On the same day, they had made a decision. They're just gonna put the top 5 people. We're just like, okay, come on. I worked for this. So what I did, I just grabbed a table and I put it right next to the 5th person. And I just put my game there. And I'm like, I'm just going to stand here and I'm just going to exhibit. And no one saw me because it was a chaotic day. Everyone was just like passing through. And then, funnily enough, I didn't meet any advertisers there, but I met someone who eventually led me to my first investor, which was a very crazy thing that happened. But then, you know, like I raised a very small amount of money for that game. It didn't work out.
This first investor invests in the game.
Yes.
Okay.
And then a bunch of things happened. Like, this is like 2016.
Right.
So 9 years ago, pretty much. A lot of stuff has happened since.
Yeah.
But that was how I got into my first.
How were you able to even raise that, whatever little capital it was? How were you able to raise it?
Oh man, so many funny stories. So, so I'm building this game, right?
Yeah.
I met this person. She used to be a marketing lead at a company called Gabea. So this is a company in Ethiopia. Also, actually, it's very predominant in a lot of East African countries now. Okay. But they used to do acceleration. And she saw the game and she's like, you know what, you should come over. We accelerate things, blah, blah, blah. We work with products, so you should come over and we need to talk. So I go there, and by that time I had decided to create the company. So I created it. Was 2 of my, I wouldn't say they were friends, but I made sure not to choose my best friends to go into business with, because that's not gonna work. So I was like, okay, we were in the same class when we graduated. I'm like, okay, you know what? These people are very good at what they do. And I'm like, I need to go and convince them to start a company with me. And I did that. So I went there. We started a company, and then now we're actually building it, and now we're hoping for advertisers to come. And then this lady came and she's like, you know what, come talk to us. So I go there, and I meet one of the co-founders and investors of Gabea. And it was one of the funniest conversations I had. So I was purely just a coder back then, right? So I know what I need. I need designers, I need animators, because I was doing a lot of it myself, and I'm not a good animator. I was just doing barely enough to make it work, right? So I met this investor.
Sorry, and at this point, is the game live at all? Are people playing?
It's not live. It's just a prototype that I have. So I'm trying to figure out a way to launch this game and to just get all the things that I need to also make it like as good as I want it to be. So I'm talking to this investor. He sees it. And I'm also thinking of, okay, how am I going to do payment? At this time, I've started thinking maybe I should do in-app purchases too. And then there's one of the things that Ethiopia did not have still is suffering actually is in-app purchases inside of app stores. So I needed to figure out a way around that. And the only way I could see was there was this mobile money thing called Bell Cash back then. So M-Pesa here has been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
The M-Pesa version
That you guys.
that we have came about just a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like 9 years ago, there was nothing. So I needed to figure out, okay, there's one version that works with this airtime premium payments. I need to figure that out. And I've heard the investor say that he's connected to the CEO of that company that runs it. I'm like, okay, can you introduce me to him? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll introduce you. And I'm like, great. And then I can also help you. And I'm like, what else can you do, man? Like, can you code? No. Are you an animator? No. Just introduce me to that guy. That's all you can do. Because investment is not in my vocabulary back then. I know nothing about any of this.
Yeah.
And then I leave, and then he follows up with emails. So what are you guys doing? Hey, let's catch up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why is this guy bothering me? Just introduce me to that guy. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. And then he says, oh, I'm also an investor. I can invest, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is interesting. So me and my co-founders go, and then he actually pretty much tells us, oh, this is how investments work. That was like my first time hearing how the investment process actually works. It's so boggling to me now when I think of like how much we've raised since then. And back then, when so one of the funniest things I remember, he was saying, so how much do you need? And me and my co-founders, we huddled and we talked, and we were like, okay, how much do we need? We came to him and we're like, we need $5,000. And he's like, what? What are you going to do with $5,000? And we're like, well, I mean, we thought about it. This is exactly how much we need to do this and do that. And I noticed, now I see how I guess, we weren't as ambitious when we were making that plan. We were like coming from, okay, what do we need right now over the next few months? We weren't really thinking of the big picture, right? And he was like the one who was like, okay, you need to think of it this way, scaling it, blah, blah, blah. And all of that was just like news to me. I was like, whoa. And that's kind of how we ended up raising our first money for that company. We ended up raising like around 70,000 USD.
Okay. That's not bad. So that was from him plus a bunch of other people, I'm assuming.
No, it was just him, actually.
Oh, it was just him?
It was just him. Oh. Yeah. It's like, you guys need this
a lot
much.
Of faith, a lot of faith in you guys.
That is true.
So what happened?
Yeah.
Why did it not work?
Man, a lot of things.
And maybe even some context into that. So at this early stage of your investment journey, what are the new things that you learned that allowed you to even get this $70,000?
Yeah.
You know, in addition to this guy being very patient, clearly, and like just in your corner.
Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, I think the one thing we had back then was the game was really good. Even after we launched it, it was like doing very well. We won the best entertainment app in Africa.
Best entertainment app in Africa.
You know who came in second? Oh my God, I forgot their name. It's a music app that's very famous in South Africa. It's like they're huge. No. Wait. I don't know. You just Google 2018 Apps Africa Innovation Awards. And then there are like the list of companies that actually won in 2018. So it's like the second company was such a huge company. I was like, I wouldn't even... So the ceremony was happening in South Africa. And one of the co-founders of our accelerator was actually going to South Africa, and he was like, you guys should come. I'm like, I'm not going to go there. Like, look at all the... I'm not going to win. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
And then when they announced it, I was actually... and he texted me. He's like, you guys won. I'm like, no way. We actually came in first, and he actually he took the award, and he actually brought on my behalf, and actually brought it for me, and I still have that in my apartment.
Yeah.
But that was like the first time I was like, wow, a team of like, by then we were like around 10, 15, a team of 15 people in Ethiopia doing this for the first time ever were able to compete and beat like this huge company, and I was just like Googling, how much money do they have? It's like $1 billion company. It was like a huge company that did this music app. And I'm like, that was so pivotal for me in thinking, we can do shit. We can actually do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments that made me
and
think
at that point
very
in time,
differently.
so as you're talking about even this team of 10, 15 people,
Yeah.
you're still on this runway of the $70,000.
So we've run out of money.
At that
By
point.
then, we've run out of money, and
How did you burn through the cash? Well, and burn through here, it's very loose. I'm using that word.
we use that word every day.
Yeah.
You burn, literally, yeah. Mainly, we had, I think the biggest cost I remember was an animation studio that we hired in South Africa. That was like the biggest cost, which I sort of regret to this day. I'm like, we could have done it in-house, but there was a lot of push from the investors to just ensure the quality of the product. And we had to just give that out. We were like, okay, we can do it here, but if it makes them more comfortable, we're just going to outsource this part, right? And most of it went into that, but the rest was just like the team that we had, the team that we built. Me and my co-founders were not paying ourselves at all, and we were just suffering. And finally, we pretty much decided, you know what? So I was, the good thing about being a software engineer is you can get jobs. You can get freelance gigs here and there. So I started to actually do a lot of that. And I was still paying most of the money I was making to the employees. And I was also, I became a teacher at Gabea. So I used to teach like basics like of Android development and stuff like that. And so all of that money I would just like spend on paying staff. But then that also became unmanageable. We eventually had to move a lot of our employees to like just companies, like a lot of people. The thing is, we collected some of the most talented people during that time. And when we finally gave up and we couldn't pay people, everyone was just like poaching like crazy. They're like, okay, we need him, we need that person, stuff like that. And we were happy because thank God, like they actually have jobs, right? And then me and Sami, who's my current co-founder, were the ones left. And we're just there. He was thankfully a student back then. And he was one of those people who would, incredible, talented people who would just like, so you give him a task, right? He would see it and he'd be like, we can do way better. And it was so funny to me because when I was freelancing, something I noticed about myself, I was never really giving 100% of myself to that company. I would do what is required and then spend the rest of the time working on my own thing. So it's like I always had this thing where if you are an employee here, I get it. I can't really expect you to give 100% unless you're really part of the company, right? So for me, when I saw him, he was giving 150. And that was just crazy. I'm like, so I would come up with this plan. Okay, we need to do this in this game, blah, blah, blah. And I'd give it to him. And he's like, bro, you're thinking small. We need to do bigger. And I was like, okay, I love this. And finally, it was just me and him left. And he was a student, but he was so happy doing this, like building these games, because he was just doing it out of the passion of it. And I'm like, I need to make him a co-founder. So when we shut down that game and we started a new gaming company, just focusing on different board games that we wanted to work on at the time, we just became co-founders.
Okay. Last question on this, the first game. Did the market not just like, what was wrong with it? Why did it not work?
Yeah, that was the question. Reminded me. All right. So, a lot of things. The first one I would say, there wasn't really a way to monetize the games in Ethiopia, especially.
We never quite figured it out.
We couldn't figure it out. We figured this out in 2021 for
that
our
you cannot
other
monetize
game.
It. Or for another game.
For another game, right? In 2018, the infrastructure wasn't there. We had to build a whole lot of... It's like Africa, I guess Ethiopia in this case, is one of the places where you build something and then in order for people to pay you, you have to build another thing. Which is crazy. Like you don't want to be doing that, right? And we did build it. We pretty much got people to actually start paying through that system. But that system, the in-app purchase that we figured out, was actually banned by the Play Store. We got kicked out of the Play Store. And we're like, okay, this is too much. Because the method that we figured out was uniquely something that would only work in Ethiopia, but it was against their policy because they would not be making their 30%.
Right.
So they just like banned us, and I'm like, okay, this is just not working. But also, it took us a lot of time to get that first product out. It took us a year and a half.
So from the moment you're getting the $70,000
From the moment we already had a working prototype
to when it gets out,
to when it was launched publicly, it took a year and a half. One of the biggest mistakes that I will always remember. And we could have saved a lot of money if we just like tried to figure out the monetization faster.
What happened? Why so long?
Perfectionism. We were trying to make it so beautiful. Oh, the animation. And it became very beautiful. It won the award, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we lost. In the real sense, we actually lost because who cares about how amazing a product is? Is it actually making money?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point in time, you set up this new company with a new co-founder, very impressive co-founder that you have.
Yeah.
You're doing, like gigs, software engineering gigs, picking up gigs left, right, and center. Yes. So what happens next?
So next, so at that time, I've spent a lot of time in my software engineering journey as well. Right? So at that time, I was making good money.
As a software engineer.
Yeah. Like as a software engineer, if you're working for a remote job, you make $5,000-$6,000 a month, right? So I was like, I'm good. I have enough money. And then still I'm spending like 80% of that to kind of pay, right, for the company. And then we built this game called Mankala. Actually, we called it Gabata back then. But it's a Mankala game. It's a board game. And it was actually really good. So it was one of the first games we built that was very, very good early on. So there are ways you tell if a game is good or not. Like the first thing you do, and this is something you should do for your game that's coming up, you look at the day one retention. So for different types of games, there's benchmarks you can use. For a board game, for example, if you have a D1 retention of over 30%, that's good. Like people who install it and then come to play it the next day. So 30%, it means you have a good game. 5%, it means you really need to change the mechanics of the game. It's not fun, right? Like that's what you do in games. Like you try to find the fun, right? You don't care about the graphics, the animation, you don't care about that. You try to find the fun. And if it's fun enough, people will start coming back to play it the next day because it's fun. We built that game and already had like 35%. And like, okay, we have something on our hands. We kept optimizing it. Eventually, it even got to 43%, which is like top.
And this is self-funded. By this point,
it's self-funded, right? And it's something. So 43% means it's in the top like 5 games in the world, 5% games in the world, right? And then I was also by that time I've also built a network of investors, of people I talk to, people I update on what we have, and one of them introduced me to Carry First. So Carry First is like one of the largest game publishers in Africa. I think they've raised like 7 mil so far. I don't know. Check that number. But they've raised a lot. But they're a huge publisher. He connected me with them, and they're like, "This is actually brilliant. We want to publish it." And we're like, "Okay, we have something going on now." So we got a publishing deal from them, and then we started to actually fundraise again. And we were able to raise $180,000 to build that game.
Now, at scale.
To build that game, but also build the gaming studio that we had at that point. So this is Kane Games.
Okay.
So this is the time where we started to actually experiment with more games. This is also when we figured out how to monetize games in Ethiopia.
Okay.
We sort of became a game publisher in Ethiopia. And pretty much we got the company to be profitable in Ethiopia. And the game became very successful, the game that we had. It became successful in a sense where it was doing very good early retention numbers and blah, blah, blah. But we were still running out of funding, and we needed to actually figure out how to raise money. And then that became sort of a pivotal point for us. But I'm going to wait for you to ask questions that lead me there.
So I want to ask a couple of things, just get clarity. So for starters, in terms of for your software engineering career, which at this point in time seems parallel to the business, how did that scale from you're taking odd jobs or you're at $6,000, $9,000 salary to $6,000? What was the journey there?
So I think one of the things that really helped me in that journey is I was initially when the first funding that I had, the accelerator.
Yeah.
It also is a training. It's a training facility.
Right.
So I took training on Android development, and more than that. So I think in many ways I'm self-taught, and one of the things that really helped me learn, there was this Kenyan named Ejide. I should find him now, actually. He's one of the top developers, I think, in my opinion, in the world. Like he was one of the leading best developers in the world, Android engineer. I literally started to spend a lot of time just reading his code. And there was just so much of it that I did not get. And I read a lot. Like I read a lot about engineering books, blah, blah. And I started to get like small gigs here and there, like the freelance jobs started to pay a bit more and more. But I really started to really learn. And I always build something. Like there's some pet project that I'm always working on. There's one that I built like a month ago. That's just like a financial app. So I always do this. I always do paid projects. And I guess software engineering is like that one field where you're lucky to practice for free. A lot of other fields, in order for you to gain experience, you have to be somewhere, right? Software, you practice for free. You can build the most sophisticated software alone by yourself. And that becomes your portfolio. I don't know anywhere else you can actually do that. Right? So that started to actually help me a lot. And I built so many things over the time. And when I started to actually, I started to interview for these platforms like Turing. Turing was actually one of the first places where I started to make big bucks. Like Turing, I think they're still around, but they're like one of like the, they were one of the big ones. I got the interview. I showed like I had a ton of portfolio projects back then. And I was also doing Unity, like game development, and that's kind of niche, which is good back then, especially because there's a lot of people doing it. And then I actually got my first job. It also helped me because the first job that I got from there was a music language teaching app, which is literally what I do all the time. Like I love learning languages, and I love playing music. And it required a senior game developer. I'm a game developer. I'm like perfect match for it.
Okay. So basically, if I've understood you correctly, just the fact that you practiced, one you read, learned, and then just practiced and just build stuff, and your portfolio then got to the point where it was impressive enough for you to get these high level jobs, and that's
yes.
Okay, so I've understood that. I've understood sort of the scale and how you begin to make that money. On this other side, because you talk about being able to then get networking, to network with and leverage that your networks to be able to raise this $180,000.
Yes.
What's that process? Because again, from where you've left me, you have this one investor who you meet through a lady at an exhibition.
True.
Then they introduce you to maybe one or two people, but how do you build your network of investors and people during that period? What are the things that you're doing to build that?
Very interesting. So I would say that 185K that we raised was also purely luck. The one that we just raised, and we raised another 300 something K in 2023. So it's like 1.2, 1.3 mil. That was more structured. Like I would say
this recent one that you've done, this $1 million and the plus the 23 one.
If I would look back at the things that I did, I wouldn't do the things that I did for the 185K. I would absolutely do the things that I did for raising this 1.2, 1.3 mil, which is something that actually also worked for me. In the previous one, the 185K that the 185K that we raised, it was purely because I had built a really good LinkedIn presence at that time. So LinkedIn was very helpful. It was something where I would just post something and it was cool. The stuff that we were building were like, they were amazing games. They looked beautiful. It was amazing, right? And that network led to the publishing deal as well, in a sense, right? And the publishing deal pretty much made it very safe for us to get that 185K. It was like the one thing that we had, because the publishing deal was huge. They were going to spend millions of dollars into marketing this game. And that was already a safe bet, right? So that was something, if you have a game and you already have like a publisher that's going to spend millions of dollars into it, giving you money to build it certainly is not as risky,
Right.
right? So that's kind of why we
How you got them.
raised it. But yeah.
And so from when you, who are you asking for from this way 185? Who are you getting it
Yes.
from? Are you also DMing people on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'm looking for money?
No. Yeah. Actually, I DM'd a lot of people. I
Yeah.
was back then. I think I had just cold messaged like around like 50 people. Just like emails, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. Like the investor that I knew, I was just asking him, hey, do you know someone that I can actually talk to, and all of those things. Eventually though, I ended up learning that DMing 50 people is such a rookie thing. You should be DMing thousands.
Yes.
For real. I was thinking, I'm doing very well. Like, I've DM'd 50 people. And then I went to this thing in New York, which I'll tell you more about. But yeah, let me just like go back to answering your question. Yeah, it was a lot of DMing. It was a lot of just cold
No, but you can tell me
calls.
the New York one. If it makes sense with this context,
It
go
does.
ahead.
It does. So after we raised the 185K, right, and then we pretty much built this game, we started to, you burn money. That's what you do. You raise money and then you burn it as fast as you can. If you don't, your investors are going to be pretty pissed, right? The reason that you're being given money is to burn it. So literally, So we raised it. We did everything that we could. The game still wasn't profitable. Right? It was very good metrics wise. And the publishers were ready to just like keep pushing it, but it wasn't profitable yet. The other games that we had.
What was wrong with the profit model? Can you give a bit of context with that?
Of course. So in games, most games, what you do is there's this thing called ROAS, like return on ad spend. So like games usually, they have a very low retention. What was the last game you played? Mobile game?
Mobile game?
Yeah. Do you even play those anymore?
Sometimes when I'm bored, like there's this bubble thing that's on my phone.
Okay,
the bubble one, right. And then there's I downloaded this other one where it's like this army guy who shoots people. I played it for like it sounds so ridiculous.
I bet you.
But in my head it's so vivid. Anyway,
that was a very generic description of a game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, in my head it's so vivid. Anyway.
But the thing is, you'd play that game. I bet you're not going to play it for 2 months.
No. I deleted it after a day.
Literally, right? The retention curve for games is very low. What you do in games is you spend a lot of money on ads, you get those games to be downloaded, and within the first 30 days, you try to make as much money from it as possible. You try to make money from ads, you try to make money from in-app purchases. People will be playing it, and they like the game a bit, maybe they buy some coins, but you lose them eventually, right?
You have 30 days to make money from this guy.
Depending on the type of game, right? Like some games, like this like very strategy games, like Clash of Clans, for example. That game, you might play it for 6 months, maybe a year even. Some players might even play it for longer, right? Casual games, it's very low. You don't really get that much. So board games, a bit higher than casual games. There's like, 15 plus categories of games, and each of them have a very different retention curve. But for all of them, you know how much time you have to make as much money from it, and the amount of money you spend to get one person, and then the amount of money you make from that one person, you just need to make that unit economics work, right? So your return on ad spend, if you're that's what needs to be fixed. And we had gotten to maybe around like maybe 70%. We're making back 70% of the money we're spending on ads, but you need to start spending, making more, right? So that's what took us a long time to fix. And we were running out of money. And the company, we needed to actually focus a lot on the one thing that scares you when you are a founder and you're burning money, at least for me. Because I mean, when I started, I was very young. I was like, 22, 23. Back then, for the first gaming company, I had a rule. I would never hire someone older than me. Which is crazy. Because if I hire someone older than me, my biggest fear is they have kids. If they have kids, and now their job is dependent on me figuring this kid stuff out.
No, you're like, nah.
I'm like, I can't. This is too much pressure. I can't do this because it's scary. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's the thing. So when we were like, once we raised our like 185K, we had some money.
Yeah.
So I quit my job completely, which was also something that was hard for me to do because it was good money I was making. But I'm like, you know what? You can't do two things at the same time. So I was like, I quit, and now I'm doing this. Now I have to figure this out. And then when the money starts to burn and you're running out of money, now you're looking at everybody. By this time, we've definitely hired people older than me. And I'm like, oh, shit. I need to figure this stuff out now, or we're not going to have money to pay these people. So it's always something that always scares you when you're a founder, right? Eventually, we just started to scramble everywhere, and we started to see, okay, what can we do here? We started to talk to Ethio Telecom. We need to do a publishing deal with you guys. Eventually, we figured out, like, this was one of the things that I remember. It was post-COVID, and there's this thing called default alive. So your revenue is growing, and the amount of money that you have in the bank is going down. So there's an intersection point, right? That point could be negative. It means you've run out of money and your revenue hasn't caught up to how much your expense is. Or it could be a bit positive, but you can calculate that. And we were calculating that every day. We're like, okay, we're growing at this rate, right? If we're going at this rate, when we run out of money, will we have enough to sustain the company, right? And this is something we used to just like keep looking at every day. And then the YC came up with this video. It was post-COVID, and they're like, okay, funding is not available now. The economy is down, and there's something that you founders need to be worried about, and it's this thing called default alive. Now, I didn't know it was called default alive. And I was like, oh, what is this? I looked at it, and it was that calculation. I'm like, are you telling me your YC founders don't know this? How privileged must you be? Because I now I get it. Like, if you're a founder in the US, funding is not that scarce. Really, to be honest. And if you're a founder in Ethiopia,
you need to know.
Maybe you get funding once every 5 years. Like what we do, right? So we need to know exactly when the money is going to run out. But eventually we noticed that the rate at which we were growing was slightly higher. And right when like a month of money was left, our revenue caught up to the expenses of the company. That expense did not include me and my co-founder's salary. No, we were out. We don't take money. I mean, that's 8 months before you run out of money. That's the first thing you chop. And you're like, okay, we're no longer taking money. Now we need to figure out, right? But then I remember that exact day when we received that money from Ethio Telecom, which was our publishing partner, which was the exact amount that our company needs to survive.
And was that per month or was it?
It was per month.
Okay.
And it was amazing. That feeling was just like me and my co-founder were just like.
But this is still without your salaries.
Yes. But still, thank God. You know what I mean? We can figure the rest out. But it was still very incredibly just like we felt so much relief, right? And then I started to figure out, okay, we need to fundraise. And that's when I went to New York. So on that journey, so it was this thing where a bunch of founders were invited to live together in this really cool apartment in Manhattan. And it was like 15 founders from everywhere in the world, China, Europe, like a lot of people from the US. And we were there for around a month. And the whole thing is you live there, you work there, you try to fundraise from there, but there are these workshops that they do. You can participate if you want.
Like a cool fellowship.
Pretty much, right? And I think that 1 month changed a lot about how I think of fundraising, how I think of generally startups. Because you send a pitch deck to an investor, and they're pretty much not going to tell you why they're not investing. They're pretty much going to say, oh, you're too early, this is that, and maybe talk to us in 6 months. That's all you're going to get. And I was getting a lot of that. I went there, and these guys have raised millions. They've done so much. Some of them were from VC. And the way you bond when you're living together is very different. Like you're going to clubs, doing mushrooms together, going back home and looking at your pitch deck, and the guys telling you, "Bro, this sucks, man. You're not gonna do anything with this." You know what I mean? It's a very different kind of networking that you're doing.
Yeah.
And we pretty much realized we need to change everything about what we're doing. So that was when I started to also notice, okay, fundamentally, the business of games is not something that we want to continue doing. We want to do something where we're also solving a problem. Because it is much easier to build a sustainable company, to build a sustainable startup when you're solving a pain point as opposed to entertaining.
Right.
What do they call it? Create a painkiller,
solution,
not a vitamin.
Right.
A painkiller sells more
Yeah.
than a vitamin, which is very like important. And I so you know this when you read books, right? Like when you are like listening to podcasts, but it hits more when it's happening to you and you're like, this is why we're not fundraising. This is why we're not able to actually sustain the company to a point where we are, like doing very well.
Yeah.
Like you can't build $1 billion business, at least as easily when you're doing entertainment.
Yeah.
So we realized, okay, we need to do problem solving. And then we're like, okay, what kind of problem can we solve with games? And that's when Beemi happened.
Okay.
So that's when the
switch happens.
Beemi.
A question, because this originated from the volume of DMing 50 people was like nothing. So what were those guys? How many DMs or what's the equivalent of that they were doing?
One of the guys there.
Yeah.
He asked me, how many people have you reached out to? And I'm like, I've reached out to around 50 people over the past 6 months.
Yeah.
He looked at me. It's like, I've reached to 50 people today. It's like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, how are you reaching out? And he showed me, okay, so there's like apparently, that's the first time I realized I need to be automating my emails.
Yeah.
I need to be sending out bulk emails to a massive list of emails that I'm getting out of Airtable or something.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, do you know anyone investing in Africa? Like a list of, and then, and then everyone's just like sending it to you and just like, oh, hundreds of emails. Great. And then now I'm looking at the open rate of emails. And then I'm changing how I'm sending those emails. And I'm also looking at how many of these investors have looked at my email several times versus who just opened it once and decided to ignore me.
Right.
That makes me, focus a lot more on these investors than the other ones. And there's just so much stuff that they were actually doing that for me, I'm like, this is new, but wow, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the switch I think you need. Like when you're working with other people in the same industry, but they're doing so much better, that transfers. And I'm so glad that happened.
Okay.
Eventually, I started bulk emailing hundreds, if not thousands of emails, right? And then looking at the response, changing our pitch deck.
Okay.
And then eventually, I started to realize, okay, this is now working. I need to do something drastically different.
Yeah.
And that's when we started to do Beemi. And then once we started to do Beemi, we saw a significant shift
in the response. Okay.
The first thing that made me realize,
and with Beimi, what was the value proposition that you were proposing vis-a-vis what you were doing before?
To be honest, that has changed so many times. Over the first thing that we wanted to do was pretty much a live streaming platform of its own, but people are actually hosting a game and other people are actually participating. So it was pretty much Twitch, but interactive.
Okay.
Interactive Twitch. And then we noticed a lot of things since then, from the users that were actually excited about the product, that we needed to change things very differently. Right now, for example, Beemi, what it does, have you ever gone live? On TikTok, on YouTube, anywhere?
Yeah, I guess we've done a few live stuff on YouTube, and we've not done TikTok or IG.
But you wouldn't consider yourself a live streamer?
No, I would not.
When was the last time you went live? Do you remember?
Oh, it's happened once.
Once?
Yeah.
Okay.
At that event, right? Wasn't it? Yeah.
What did you do?
It was an event essentially. It was a financially incorrect discussion, and we were live. Yeah.
You were live, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the people that the reason I asked you is because a lot of the users that we have are people who actually are not live streamers, but they want to live stream. So there's something in live streaming. There's something happening, right? Right now, like you see Speed, Kai Cenat,
yeah,
you see a lot
yeah.
of those famous people.
Yeah.
And you also see a lot of up and coming influencers who want to go
Get into
live.
this space. Yeah.
Because live streaming, you have to understand, is it's the most authentic content you can create online, right? And that's why you have these live streamers. They have the most loyal following because you're literally spending time together with that person. You're building that connection that you can't build. In order for you to build something out of like a TikTok account, you need to have hundreds of thousands of people watching it, millions of people watching it, and so on. In a live stream, 10 people are enough for you to actually even make money from the live stream.
Yeah.
Right? That's the depths and the strengths of that connection. But the biggest problem, if you're not an entertainer, if you're not a performer, what are you going to do live?
To entertain people, to keep people
You need to be
watching.
very funny.
Yeah.
You need to do something crazy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We're like, okay, that's a problem that a lot of people have. And we noticed a lot of people don't go live for that same reason, but they want to go live. Why don't we make games that are sort of icebreakers? So you go live, you open these games, and then your audiences can actually play those games with you. Now, these are not games like serious games. Like if you're a serious gamer, that's its own thing.
Yeah.
You just play FIFA, Call of Duty. It's its own live streaming journey.
Right.
And then these creators, these new TikTokers and influencers, they're not that either. They don't know how to become a pro gamer, do a live setup, and then do that live streaming. And like, okay, Beemi, what it does for you is it's something. It's an app, first of all. You don't need to set it up with a streaming tool, blah, blah, blah. It's just an app. You open it, you go live on TikTok, you connect it right there. And then it gives you these games, these party games that you can play. And then your audiences can also play with you. So they're having fun, you're having fun. Once we started to notice like how significantly it's changing the audience retention, for example. On a normal live stream, like say on TikTok, if you go live right now and you're just talking or saying stuff, your audience, they might stay for maybe like 20 seconds on average and then they'll just like go, right?
Yeah.
With Beemi streams, we noticed that increased by at least 5 times. So your audience is actually now having fun as opposed to just like waiting for you to be funny.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot of our influencers. And that's why they started to use it. Like a lot of these users, they're trying to grow their account. They're trying to create a connection with their audiences. And they notice that live streaming is like a significant portion of that.
Yeah.
Like some of them, like there's a user who's been using this for like over a year now. He's built a whole community on TikTok Live. And it's like a whole community where they actually end up doing a lot of different events together, blah, blah, blah. But he's always going live and he's actually building that live community from there. And he's actually very happy about it, right? So that's kind of what it does for you. It makes your life entertaining, gamified, and blah, blah, blah. Eventually, we started to add now like this. Do you know Roblox?
Yes.
You know Roblox, right?
My daughter's
So
Roblox.
Right.
Yeah.
So Roblox, the biggest thing that they have is the Roblox Studio. Because Roblox, anyone can create games and upload them. That becomes just, it gives you a lot of new content. Every time you're going to Roblox, there's new stuff
new
going
games
there, right?
yeah.
We noticed that initially we were the ones just building games. Okay, people love trivia, let's build trivia. People love different types of things, let's build that for them. But we're like, what if we allowed them to build it themselves, the community? And then that's how we built what we call Beemi Studio, which is this thing where if you're a developer, you can actually go in there and create games on your own. And the thing is, people are so creative. The influencers themselves, like we just did this AI thing where people can add images, they can add text, blah, 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 and then they can actually create.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the games that they were creating, and I would have never thought of that. Finish the lyrics. That's crazy. Okay, so they start a lyric, and then you're supposed to finish the lyrics from the songs that you know.
Yeah.
This wordscapes thing. This guy was just like taking snapshots of like this different like wordscape types of things and just putting it in there. I'm like, okay, people are creative when you give them the tool. So we decided let's just be the tool that users can create these games with, and then that becomes. Whenever I'm pitching, for example, I say, "What's Beemi?" Beemi is Roblox, but for live streaming. So that's pretty much the value add.
Okay. And this is the concept, or the origin point of this concept is developed after this 1 month, life-changing experience.
That triggered the change.
Okay.
Pretty much.
I want to ask about the revenue, the how you do the fundraising, right? To get to this 1.3 million dollars over the last 2-3 years, so to speak. Yeah. And I want you to, if you can, compare it for me against this 185K, because again, you said what you did for the 185K.
Yes.
You know,
very true. So, the first thing that I would recommend anyone who's fundraising, you need to go out and read books about fundraising. There are some books like Secrets of Sand Hill Road. So when you're raising for your startup, a bunch of the mistakes that I made in the past, I didn't know who to pitch to. There are different ways you can actually raise money, right? Are you going for a VC or are you going for some sort of an investment banking company, right? They have very different requirements. So are you going, for example, saying my company is a very safe bet, it's already profitable, it's doing some money, it has some revenue, and over the next years it will just keep growing and it's actually good, that might help you get a loan from a bank because it's already very safe, right? And that's kind of what we were doing with our game studio as well when we were trying to raise. And the reason we couldn't raise, we're profitable as a company, right? And we already had some kind of a growth metric. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm making money, I'm profitable, I should be able to fundraise. Yeah. No, that's not what VCs care about. So VCs, like the venture capitals specifically, you have to understand, okay, where does that money come from? That money comes from LPs, which comes from very wealthy individuals, right? Those wealthy individuals, they already have a lot of safe investments. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. They have, I think, a lot of their money goes into like the stock market, bonds, like commodities, everything. They spend maybe 6 to 7% of their wealth on VC. And VC, the very like defining characteristics of it is it's a very highly risky but highly rewarding venture. So
you're looking for the unicorns.
Literally, right? Yeah. So when you're going to a VC and you're telling them this is a very safe bet, but it's not going to grow to become a unicorn, you're out immediately, right? They would rather hear someone who has, okay, this may not work, but if it does,
it's crazy.
It's going to go crazy. That's what VCs need. And that understanding comes from understanding what do VCs want, right? So you have to know when you're going and pitching, you have to understand what it is, what's in it for them, right? And any VC that's coming in at an angel investor, for example, if they're coming in at a very early stage, their goal is not to give you money and then 20 years later, you're Coca-Cola. Yeah. No, they don't care about that. What they care about is in 1 or 2 years, you're actually going to raise the next round at a much higher valuation, at which point they could even exit. Yeah. Or they can stay a bit longer and maybe 5 years later, 6 years later, they could exit. So it really depends on how your company can actually grow. And your company can only grow if there's a market for it, right? You can't be having a product that is incredibly valuable to 100 people in the world. That's a very small market, right? 1,000 people, 100,000 people. You want to go for something that will have hundreds of millions of people using it. And that means it will actually grow, right? Yeah. That provides the space for an investor to come in early and then exit at a later stage where it's actually grown. So that's something that they actually care about a lot too. And then you have to understand your team matters, right? So let's say you have a big market opportunity and it could potentially be huge, right? You really need to be able to sell your team. Who are you to build this? Because something that you have to understand, if I am an investor and I look at your product and I'm like, wow, this is actually a very great idea, then I could invest in you, or I could just wait a little bit and then you'll have competition and I'll find the right person to invest in and just invest in that person. Yeah. Because if I invest in you, I'm already kind of locking myself out of other deals because I'm very invested in you. Maybe I'm in your board. I can't really go ahead and invest in your competition. That's why you see a lot of VCs, when they look at your business, they try to see, do we have a portfolio company that we've already invested in that's doing something very similar to what you're doing? I remember this very distinctly because in one of the earliest conversations I had, this guy asked me very directly, are you a competitor to this company? And I know they're actually an investor in that company. And I'm like, are we? Are we not? I didn't even know. But I was like, yeah, maybe. I think so. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then that was it. That was the last time we actually spoke.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
So they want to invest in you. So if they're deciding to look themselves out
Yeah.
of everybody else who's going to be doing this next, that's a whole lot of people. You better be the right person
To make this happen.
That's why you need to sell yourself. In my pitch deck, one of the first things that I learned to change, I think we Africans are very humble people. I went to the US and saw the other side. When I went, I remember it was one of like the, what do you call it? Like there was an NFT and Bitcoin and the whole haze, right? And to be honest, at that point, I've read so much about it. I've read like thousands of pages and white papers. My younger sister, she's the one who got me into crypto. She actually used to work for the third largest crypto company in the world. She's like a blockchain engineer. And we talk about it all the time. So I'm informed to some extent about what blockchain is, what crypto is and stuff like that. I go to the US and I'm like, I don't know anything. I should listen to people. And then people are just coming like, oh, I'm an expert in crypto. Let me tell you. And then these networking events, right? And then I'm like, oh, there's an expert. Let's listen to what they have to say. And then they're like, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, oh my God, bro, I think I know more than you. Let me tell you. And then I realized we're very humble. And maybe it's as a culture, right? The first thing that a lot of the friends that I had in that thing, they did is, Dawit, did you mention you had a black belt? Yes. Why is that not in your pitch deck? I'm like, how is me being a black belt going to help? Like, oh, it shows that this, it shows that, it shows this. And I'm like, really? Okay. What else? And then there's so many things that I started to actually put into my pitch deck. Okay, who am I as a person so that I give you confidence to trust in me? Right? And that's something that a lot of founders that I've worked with forget. It's also important that you have a great idea, but it's also important that you sell yourself and your team. Now I'm like, I'm going around my co-founders. I'm like, okay, tell me everything you've done, everything you've done in your life. And then I'm putting that in there. And you find things, impressive things. Sami, he's built a whole game engine. I'm like, bro, that's important. We need, he actually just recently told me something that I'm going to put in our pitch deck. He had, when, you know, the national exams, I think he was in the top 10 scorers in the country. I'm like, bro, we raised $1 million without saying that. Imagine how much we could have raised if we said that too. So that's something that's so important that you actually mentioned. And all of these things, to be honest, you also learn from a lot of these books that you read, from a lot of these things that you actually do. But all of these things also really depend on the relationship you build with investors. If you want to raise in a year and a half, you need to start building that relationship today. So what you do, like this is the concept of social capital, but in terms of investment, you need to keep them updated on your progress, on your failures.
Without asking for money, you're just like, this is what's happening.
This is what's happening. So every month we now have like an investor update email that we send. And you have to be very honest. Honesty is so important. Don't try to oversell the company. Oversell yourself. But don't oversell a company because they can look at your company. They can look at everything that you're doing, right? Just be very honest and show progress. Show progress in terms of, okay, we're suffering greatly here this month. I know, for example, one of the things that I'm going to send out this month, something horrible that happened to us, I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to tell the investors, this month we fucked up. Can I say that on this podcast? Right. So we did this and it turned out to be horrible. And then you do that every month and you build that relationship. And in a year and a half, when you're ready to raise, or in a year or so, maybe when you're ready to raise, you're not this random cold person, like cold email person who just reached out. You're this person that they have known for a while and they have seen progress.
I have a few questions on that. So if you guys were raising, I think the article I read was dated June, if I'm not wrong, June this year. So are you saying that for you, then the process started 2024? 2023 is when you start, is when you're just keeping people informed. And are you sending it to this long list of possible African investors that you have, or is it to people that you know?
Eventually, you realize who to focus on. Eventually, like, early on, it becomes very clear who's going to invest in this or not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the industry they invest in, the size of the investment is not right for you, blah, blah, blah. You weed a lot of them out.
Yeah.
And then there are like a few that remain, maybe around 50, right? Those are potentially going to be your investors. Some of them would probably be the leads. You start to actually keep sending them updates.
Okay.
And they ask you too,
Yeah.
which is a good
Just I mean, okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of even to get this huge, even if it's a database of 200 investors,
Yeah.
that you purely get from what I've understood from your story.
Yeah.
It's from these other founders that you're working with or getting into a network of founders
Yes,
of some sort,
pretty
and they
much.
would help you
Pretty much.
figure out who you can talk to.
But another way, a better way, I would say right now, to get that is through intros. Intros are actually the best ways for you to get
That connection.
that list of investors. Like, if you have already spoken to this one investor, and you're a nice person, you had a really nice conversation, they like you, even if they don't invest, they're probably going to introduce you to someone else. And you would know someone who knows someone,
and
right?
so-
You build that list eventually, and that list becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Every person that you introduce, if they introduce you to another person, even that's a long list that you're going to get. So you can just start with one or two investors that you know, pitch to them, show them what you're building, tell them you're planning to raise in a year or so, ask them very nicely, hey, is there anyone else you think I should talk to?
Yeah.
And then you build that list.
Okay, I've understood that bit. Now I want to get to being able to get actual cash from people. And again, if you could give us the paradigm between the 185K and this 1.3 million dollars, what are the differences and what does it actually take? Because even for the 185K, I mean, you still got 185K, and that's still, you know, I mean, still something to you know, to write home about, so to speak.
I would say this time around, we had a lot more validation. Instead of the product being great, blah, 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 we focus more on, okay, these are real people that need this. It's something new. No one's really doing this. So in 2023, we actually raised our first round, which was around 300K. And that came from a lot of these networks that we actually built, from the people that introduced us to other people. Because when I was in the States, I actually traveled to a lot of cities, just having in-person meetings with investors that I was being introduced to. And that, plus the additional fact that we had a little bit of a validation. Like, this is the problem. And the fact that it's actually a problem too. A problem, a unique problem that we're actually solving that no one else is solving right now. All of those things kind of combined to create this good sense of, okay, this is something that we might want to invest in. And the fact that by then, we've also, the previous company that we had, it had a game that was doing very well, the one that I told you about. We ended up selling it. When we sold it, one of the reasons for me to sell it was, okay, we're not going to be able to raise fast enough for us to build this game and make it successful. But if we sell it, that's success. We may not sell it for a lot of money. We negotiated for like a royalty, like a very long-term royalty. But selling it means we've actually achieved something. And that's very interesting. So that also helped. We're like, okay, gather up all the previous successes we've had. What are we working on now? Why is it unique? It's a very, you know, all of that. And then I really relied on the networks. I went in person. An in-person meeting with an investor is so much more valuable than a Zoom call that you're going to have with them. And then, of course, when that investor introduces you to another person, that helps. So that helped. Post that, the recent one, we really heavily relied on actual, okay, we've made money from this project. This is something where, like, we now have subscribers. We have people paying to actually do this. A lot of them are saying this solves a significant pain for them. All of those things combined helped us actually become the company that you would want to invest in. Pretty much.
Okay. And so basically that's how then you're and when you're getting this this extra, you know, 1 million, 1.3, how many different people are contributing to this pot of 1.3 million vis-a-vis again the 185? Is it multiple people?
Yeah, it's a lot of investors now.
It's a lot of different people.
The top of my head, I think it's at least 7 investors or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who and is it a mixture of VC funds and individuals?
Most of them are VCs and then a few individuals.
Okay.
Angels.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, if I'm looking at this year and a half period,
Yeah.
At what point are you then? At what point is year and a half journey are you then beginning to get the money? Is it
Oh, you get it immediately.
immediately? So immediately someone is like, yeah, sure.
The thing is, once you start to raise, there's a time that you set for you to close the round.
okay.
When you close the round, when we were fundraising, we actually had people who were interested in investing, and we had an oversubscribed amount. But what you want to do is because you don't want to spend all of your time fundraising.
Yeah.
Because that's a waste of your time and the founder's time and every other co-founder as well. What you want to do is you want to set a time and say, okay, so this is when we're going to close the round. And sure, investment takes time. Like the DD takes time. Like they want to see a lot of stuff, blah, blah. And then there's someone that just came around and they're going to take more time. So you don't want it to be dragged out, right? So every time you're talking to an investor, you need to tell them, this is when we're closing the round. And then when that date comes, that's when you close the round. Okay. So everybody who's done their DD by then comes in. Everybody who hasn't finished is out of the investment.
Okay.
And then, you can try to get them on the next bigger round, but at least you have a safe deadline to actually close by.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was your move from when you moved to Nairobi part of one of the things that you had, strategically put out for what you're going to achieve next with the money that you were raising at this point?
Very interesting. No, not even. I wish. So when we came to Nairobi, actually I came here first. And it was such a random thing. It was the Africa Tech Summit that was happening. I'm like, I need to actually come here. Technically, I haven't really even moved here because I still keep going back to Ethiopia like every 3 months, but I do spend most of my time here. Initially, the move was, my plan was to move to the US. In order to do, so I've been planning my move to the US for a year and a half. So I got the required visas, I got everything that I needed, and everything was pretty much ready. I just needed to make the move. And then I came here and I'm like, I love this place. Honestly, the tech environment is just so much more advanced than Ethiopia, right? It's not as you want it to be for the US. In the US, something we notice is people are more willing to try out this thing than here. We have a lot more conversion, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But Nairobi is literally the social media capital of Africa. I didn't know this. I found out when I came here. And I noticed Nairobi actually has, did you know that more social media spend happens in Nairobi than anywhere else in the world?
I didn't know
per
that.
capita. That's
Really?
crazy. Neither did I. I was like, this is crazy. If we're going to build something for social
This
media,
is the place to do it.
we need to be here.
Yeah.
And I know Nairobi.
When you're talking about social
yeah.
media spend per capita,
Yeah.
what are Nairobians spending it?
I think it's 4 hours per day.
Okay.
Something like that. Which is true. I spend around 4 times. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Checks out. And then I also noticed something that, so yeah, the US is a great market because they have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But something that we noticed is people in the US are spending it for leisure versus social media or social media usage or being an influencer in Nairobi is more aligned with career goals. It's an actual job. It's something that you're doing to make a living.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something we also notice in Ethiopia too. Like a lot of people, being an influencer is legitimately something a lot of people consider while they're in college. Because there aren't a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
It's the same everywhere in Africa. And you notice, okay, here it's more of a painkiller than in the US then. It's more of a problem solver than in the US, right? So it kind of circles back to a lot of the things that we've been learning over time. And we're like, let's stay here. We still publish to the US. We still have a lot of our customers coming from the US. But the founders being based here, where we're like with the market that we want to help solve for, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because you generally want to be positioned in person where you're solving the problem. And that's kind of why we decided, you know what? I came here first and I called my co-founders and guys, guess what? We're moving here. And then, the Big came and then Sami came and then now we're all based out of here.
Okay.
Very much.
That's interesting, and I didn't know that about Nairobi as well. And that's going to be in the promo of this episode. Anyway, okay. So I mean, as we wrap up, because we're now like an hour and a half in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What's the one thing? Maybe I'll ask this from a financial point of view. What's the one thing, or what's one thing that has allowed you to get to this point of being able to raise 1.3 million dollars for this particular business that you're in?
What's the one thing?
What's one thing? Maybe
Just
not the one thing. One thing.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
I would really say continuously re-educating myself.
Yeah.
Every book that I've read, like I think I read I try to read at least one book every month. Mm-hmm. Every book that I've read, whether it's about marketing, whether it's about fundraising, product management, all of those things have had a significant impact on how I do things in the startup. And every year or so, I'm thinking, wow, I was clueless a year ago. I was so stupid. I had no idea. Every year or so, I say that about myself. Now to the point where I know I'm now clueless too. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Out, yeah. I'll know in a year.
Yeah.
But all of that, I think, came from a lot of the books that I read. Because these books, like I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. What was it? Like, it takes an average of like 3 years to write a book. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the life experience of that person, all accumulated for you to consume in a month. Mm-hmm. That is one hell of a cheat code.
Yeah.
That's so much that you're saving yourself in you failing and then finding out versus you really just learning what to do now, right? And it's literally something that I do about anything. Mm-hmm. When I adopted a dog, mm-hmm. I read... the name of the book is The Other End of the Leash. Mm-hmm. It's a book about raising dogs. Mm-hmm. I didn't know so many things about raising dogs. Mm-hmm. It was so helpful in training them, in feeding them, in keeping them healthy, all of those things. I'm like, oh my God. Now, whenever I'm doing something, I'm like, is there a book for this? Because that just puts you ahead so much faster and so much further. Why not? Why not do it, right? Yeah. So every time you read something, it helps. And that's the one thing I would say helped.
Okay. Last question. And I do this a lot, but anyway, it's fine. In this 9 month, 1 year and a half journey of raising funds, the way you've told the story, and it's no fault of yours, of course, but just because of time and everything, it sounds like things relatively went smoothly. What were the low points or the down moments of you being able to raise this $1 million?
Interesting, right? Things did not go smoothly. There was a point where I got so just pissed off and frustrated, I literally had to go to the hospital. This was, I think, 2023. Mm-hmm. And there's this thing, entrepreneurial journey, you only have two feelings. Terror or euphoria. It's nothing else. It always switches between the two. But there were quite a lot. Not being able to fundraise, getting kicked out of the Play Store was one of the lowest for me. Mm-hmm. Because it took us a lot of effort to get out of that. And it was also something that I noticed was... you, as a founder, you're thinking, okay, if I just put myself and everything that I have into it, it might work out, right? But the world is generally against you because you have to really figure it out and the world owes you nothing, right? And then you notice this one thing where the rest of the world has, which is access to app stores, access to just being able to sell your stuff online, right? That stuff, just for your country, you're not allowed to do it. And I was like, come on, man. We have to go and figure out a lot of things. Mm-hmm. On top of that, we now have to deal with this bullshit, which is just crazy. And then it took a while for us to raise the awareness. I was just reaching out to a lot of people at Google. And a lot of the people also mentioned that once you get kicked out of Google, you can't really just get the app reinstated. And that was just crazy because I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? But thankfully, there were so many people inside of Google itself that actually were like, this is shit. This is not fair. because it's so unfair if you think about it, right? And they really petitioned up to like the VP of security, and they actually got us unbanned, and it took like 6 months plus to actually get it there. And I'm so thankful to them. Like I always text her name is Salam. I text her like, we're gonna build a statue for you in our headquarters in the future, just so you know. That's how impactful you are. But that was a moment for me, not because everything else, yeah, it is a startup life, right? You're gonna fail a lot. But that was the lowest moment for me because I also felt it was unfair. Just because we were in Ethiopia, just because we didn't have a lot of market potential for the country, just Google does not care about that country. And it's like that was, and there's like a couple of countries that was a thing in, and I was like, that's just unfair. So I felt that.
In this final round that you just closed, are there people who you had expected to get money from that you didn't get money from?
Oh, a lot. Of course. Honestly, like.
How much did you think? I mean, if you calculate the money you thought you would have gotten, how much do you think you would have raised?
We would have raised like around 4.5, something like that.
So about 3 times what? 4 times.
That's how it works. Thankfully, we had investors that are very mature. They've been they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars, right? I was so enthusiastic, and I'm like, oh, we have a commitment of around 4 million. And she's like, deduct that, like take maybe 10-20% of that. That's the actual amount it's going to come to. And I'm like, what? That's very pessimistic of you. And she's like, that's how it works. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like whenever you discount it to a certain amount. And that worked out very well for us because we wanted to raise like 1.2, 1.3. We ended up raising 1 mil, and we're like, this is good. And then eventually you learn, okay, next time I need to get a commitment of like 20 mil and then raise 5 mil.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Dawit, thank you so much. Thanks so much for coming and talking to us on Financially Correct Business Edition and giving us this business story. I think it's the first, story like this that we're going to share. In terms of just the VC journey of building a business and the relatability, I think is really going to translate. And it was a lot of fun as well.
It was so fun, man. I want to do this again.
A lot of fun.
Let's go again.
You know what, for those who might be, wanting to get into the VC space or whatever the case, or have questions that I could not ask, please do again put your comments in the your questions or whatever's in the comment section, and we'll see how we can get him along. We're trying to do a community event where he has promised that he's going to be there. So that's going to happen as well. So if you have questions for the next gig that you see Financially Correct is doing, make sure you come so you can ask him directly. But thanks so much for paying attention to Financially Correct. One last thing, is there a last thing you want to say?
Oh man, so many things, but on the next podcast. Let's do this again.
All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching Financially Correct Business Edition. We will see you 2 Tuesdays from now.